Hello, Mrs. Blazkowicz, and welcome to Hamlet, the reality TV sensation. For this project, I wanted to make a comparison between Act 3, Act 3, Scene 3 of Hamlet and reality TV. So I chose Keeping Up with the Kardashians. So there's Claudius, there's Hamlet, and then there's Hamlet's father, all here in a poster for Keeping Up with the Kardashians. There's Kim in the front there. So here's this clip. We see a lot of fighting throughout the entire Shakespeare's work, and here's a little clip from Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It's pretty applicable to what we see, expressed in the play. And I have to turn the sound off because it's not appropriate for school. Okay, so clearly we see very emotional, irrational behavior by Kim. She goes in and she just starts wailing at her sister Chloe there, and we see the same evident in throughout all of Hamlet. We see this incredible irrational behavior by all the characters. It causes all this needless bloodshed, but it makes for quite the interesting play. So an evident theme throughout this play is that guilt is more powerful than revenge. We see this throughout most of the different acts, and it's certainly prevalent in Act 3, Scene 3. So, diving into the characters, we have Claudius, and some of his primary characteristics are that he is incredibly lustful. He seeks for revenge. He has this incredible hate for Hamlet. He constantly calls him insane and angry. He's also incredibly manipulative and charming. He has a way with words. It's how he That's how he actually performs some of his murders. He manipulates his victims. So not a kind of guy you want in your life. On the other side, we have Hamlet, and he is incredibly impulsive yet contemplative. So we see this kind of a dualism of man. He's very plagued with. He questions a lot about the afterlife. And about what happens after you die. We're going to see this later on when Hamlet is having an internal struggle on whether or not to kill Claudius while he's in prayer. He wants to know about the afterlife. He also sees that he is incredibly angry and impulsive when he stabs Polonius without even really knowing that if it is him or not. He just sort of takes a gamble and stabs him. Moving on to our passage, we have Claudius's internal struggle. So I'm going to read you the soliloquy, and feel free to listen. So it's, "Oh, my offense is rank, it smells to heaven, it hath the primal eldest curse upon it, a brother's murder, pray can I not, through inclination be as sharp as will, my stronger guilt defeats my strong intent." From Claudius. So through here we see Claudius's profession of guilt for the murder of Hamlet's father. We see that he feels incredibly bad for it. Pray can I not, he says that. We also see a biblical allusion, referencing heaven. And this is certainly evident throughout the entire, both soliloquies, we see biblical references. We also see that he is incredibly guilty and he feels a resentment for his cruel actions. We see that down below, too, when he says, "My fault is past, but oh, what form of prayer can serve my turn? Forgive me for my foul murder." We see that he's incredibly remorseful, and that's certainly a tone in this soliloquy. He feels bad. He doesn't want to do these things. And it's going to end up costing him his life in the long run. But we also see intense imagery. We get this putrid smell when when he says, "My offense is rank, it smells to heaven," you can visualize that. You can smell the rank. It smells so bad it goes all the way to heaven. You can really wrap your mind around that. We also see at the end we have forgive me for my foul murder. He's professing his sins to God in hope in hopes that he will be forgiven and he will go to heaven. And I didn't get to finish that, but it was connection to the Bible and to holiness. So moving on, we have Hamlet's internal struggle. We see, how might I do it, Pat? Now he is a praying, and now I'll do it. And so he goes to heaven, and so I am revenged that would be scanned. A villain kills my father, and for that I, his sole son, do the same villain send to heaven. So here we see a wavering tone. He's very unsure. He doesn't know if he wants to go through with the murder or if he's going to wait for a later time. As we know, he ends up waiting for a different time, as we read down below. He says, to take him in the purging of his soul, when he is fit in season for passage. No. Up, sword, and know thou more horrid hence, when he is drunk asleep or in his rage. So what we see here is Hamlet is going to wait to kill Claudius until he is sinning. He believes that when he is praying, like Claudius is during his soliloquy, he believes that if he murders him during this time, he's going to actually end up in heaven, which Hamlet does not want. He wants him to have his eternal bashing to hell. We see that the importance of an eternal fate for Claudius. He wants his worldly actions to be punished eternally. We also see that this reveals that guilt is the greater than revenge, which was the same theme that I mentioned earlier. Finally, we see that Hamlet decides to conduct the murder at a time when Claudius is sinning, as I mentioned earlier, and the biblical allusion, which is certainly contemporary for the time, reveals the importance of Claudius's eternal fate. So moving on, speaking holistically about how this section pays in through to the work as a whole, we see that the bloodshed throughout the novel, throughout the play, often leads to guilt, and we see that there is a rational side of both characters that really believe that their actions are bad, but maybe that they were needed. And we see this incredible internal struggle, and we see this throughout the entirety of the play. They don't know if their actions are good or they're bad. We also see that there is incredible respect and decency evident in in Shakespeare's work, because he wanted to give Claudius a death that was respectful in the sense that he would damn him to hell and not into heaven. So that's the connection to the text as a whole. And moving on, we see a discussion question is, to what extent could one claim that there is a Claudius in every human being, someone who acts on their impulse, yet feels remorse for their cruel actions, like we saw in the Kardashian episode? Kim probably went back and apologized to Chloe after that. And so we also see that guilt is more powerful than revenge. And we see similar themes relevant today when people act negatively on impulse and emotion, and then they later apologize for their actions. We see this all the time. People go on the news, they say something that they regret, and then they have to apologize for it, especially with the COVID virus. People are saying things, different news organizations are putting things out that they just want to get that sensational clicks, and then they have to go back and they have to send it back because they realize that what they said maybe isn't so correct, and maybe they acted a little bit on impulse, trying to get that emotional response. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed. I enjoyed making it. I had a ton of fun, and stay safe and have a great evening.